Rewind 93.9 WYEC, mid-morning in the cities. I'm Sean Patrick, and we're honored to be joined by Natasha Lee with the March of Dimes, and the March for Babies is coming up. And Natasha, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Your family is the ambassador family for this year's March for Babies. Tell us how you got involved with March of Dimes.
So in April of 2014, my son was born at just 23 weeks, weighing 1 pound 6 ounces. And so we were connected with the March of Dimes through social media, first of all, and then we had friends and other NICU families that were involved with the March of Dimes who kind of came around us and let us know that that resource was available for us.
And the March of Dimes, I mean, what they do for babies and what they do for families in the situation, especially a surprising situation that you were in, it's remarkable.
Yes, absolutely it is. The research alone is tremendous. My son benefited directly from 2 different therapies. One is surfactant, which is a chemical for your lungs that you're naturally after 29 weeks, and also having oxygen therapy with nitric oxide. Both of those findings, treatments for babies, were found through research and funding by the March of Dimes, and so he directly benefited from those things.
Natasha Lee is our guest today on Mid Morning in the Cities. Her family is the ambassador family for this year's March for Babies, which is happening this Saturday on Arsenal Island. We'll continue this conversation, get some details on how you can get involved, coming up next on Mid Morning in the Cities, presented by Curves Davenport on Rewind 93.9. We're talking with Natasha Lee. Her family is the ambassador family for this year's March for Babies, which is happening this weekend. Tell people how they can get involved with the March for Babies just this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just go to, I think it's March of Dimes or marchforbabies.org, you can sign up to walk, you can donate. You know, there's a lot of different options. It's a 3-mile walk on the Arsenal. It's a beautiful path. And so, you know, we've done a lot of fundraisers up to this point, raised just over $8,000 for our team to go to the March for Babies.
And is there any cost? I mean, obviously you want a donation, right?
Right, yeah, there is absolutely just a donation, but, you know, it's really just about supporting families and healthy babies. So if you just want to come out in March because you have a healthy baby, fantastic, or you know somebody who's had a preemie or needed resources from the March of Dimes, coming out and celebrating those. You know, they also have celebrations for babies that didn't make it, and so they have that kind of memorial as well, and so it's just in honor of all babies.
What time does it get started?
9 a.m.
Natasha Lee is our guest today on Mid Morning in the Cities. Her family, including young Samuel, 2 years old, born premature, but surviving and thriving. Natasha's our guest today, and of course, they are the ambassador family for the March for Babies happening this Saturday on Arsenal Island. We'll continue this conversation and wrap things up next and talk a little bit more about Samuel coming up next on Mid Morning in the Cities, presented by Curves Davenport on Rewind 93.9. We're talking with Natasha Lee. Her family is the ambassador family for this year's March for Babies happening this Saturday on Arsenal Island. And the overwhelming cost, I mean, emotionally, it's hard enough to deal with the situation where your child is born premature, but the cost this involved is staggering, and that's where the March for Babies and the March of Dimes come in.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, one of the things about the March of Dimes is the funding stays local. They do support the University of Iowa, obviously, because a lot of the babies go there. But one of the big projects they're working on right now is working with Unity Point Health to expand the capabilities of the NICU here, which would drastically reduce the cost having it in a local hospital instead of, you know, such a high-level hospital like the University of Iowa. And so, you know, it is very, very, I won't even say our number was after 118 days in the NICU, but it was staggering. And so definitely having the funding to be able to have local hospitals being able to help these babies would be helpful.
Yes, because right now the capabilities here in the Quad Cities are still a little limited.
They absolutely are. You know, they're really meant for kind of feeders and growers, those babies that just need a little bit of assistance. When I first went into labor, it's actually ironic because I went into labor 2 years ago today. When I first went into labor, we were here local, and they said, there's nothing we can do. We cannot save this child. We were able to get transferred to the University of Iowa, and they were able to, but there was nothing locally because they are not equipped to have babies on ventilators and all of that need to happen when the babies are that premature.
Tell us about Samuel.
He is a rowdy, crazy 2-year-old. He will be 2 on Friday. He is amazing. He is meeting all of his milestones for growth. He is happy, bubbly, talking up a storm. His favorite word is cookie, so it's kind of amusing, actually. But he is a joy, and we are so, so blessed that because of the research of March of Dimes and because of the University of Iowa, he is with us and he is thriving.
And it's going to Saturday. Of course, it's an opportunity not just to see, not just to help out the March of Dimes, but to actually see people who are actually being helped by this walk.
Absolutely, that's the fun part about the March of Dimes walk. Is so many families come out and bring those babies, and the toddlers, and there's one family that's been doing it for 10 years. So you get to see these 10-year-olds who, at one time, were little tiny preemies and are thriving, active tweens, so it's such a fun thing.
That's got to be great for your heart, too, to see that.
Absolutely it is, because, when you're first in the situation, there's not a lot of hope at first. And so when you see the survivors and you see the success stories and you see the other families and you get connected, that's really one of the greatest benefits of the March of Dimes, is that connection with the other families.
Well, Natasha Lee, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you missed any part of this conversation with Natasha Lee, her family, of course, the ambassador family for the March for Babies with the March of Dimes this Saturday on Arsenal Island, go to marchforbabies.org so you can get signed up and help out. You can catch this interview online in a few moments at our Mid Morning in the City's podcast at QuadCityDailyNews.com. QuadCityDailyNews.com is powered by local radio. Mid Morning in the Cities is presented by Curves Davenport on Rewind 93.9, the greatest hits of all time.